So Molly and I, with Nathan's blessing, have decided to do is sort of insert into this course maybe 2 or 3 days worth of each of us modeling that building very accurately. And it'd be great for portfolio. I mean, you have had that experience of a building from the foundations up to the roof, plus whatever else we discover. And then I think we'll each do that as part of a long assignment for this class. Let's talk about it. I think it will benefit all of you to have the experience of having done the whole thing. And you say, this is mine, and you don't have to share it or give extra credit and stuff. And then once we're done with that, they should be essentially identical. We'll just pick one, and that's the one that you will share for your studio project. So you're all linked into the exact same thing. And part of that will be and that's what we're dealing with today, is keeping track of the difference between what is there to start with, what is staying, what is being demolished, and what we're adding to it. And then how we communicate that to the various people involved. For instance, the demolition contractor, we can't just erase a wall that's there. The demolition contractor needs to see that in dashed lines or something on a demolition plan. So he knows, oh, I've got 5,000 square feet of masonry wall to get rid of. We want to be able to see very clearly where the new walls are compared to the ones that we're leaving. And then for the client, who doesn't sort of care about all the in-between steps, we want to be able to show, okay, this is what you're going to get. It's clean, it's not distracting, it's everything there. So just as our starter file, this is sort of a little fiddled plan of our old studio over there, LL25, hall and the door and the little office there. And what we're going to do is take this, and I'll give you a little preview of where we're heading. So when we're sort of down in the weeds of setting Revit up to work this way, you'll be able to understand where we're headed. This might be a somewhat more elaborate scheme than you need to do on your project. Well, let's assume that there's stuff there we need to demolish, and then stuff that we're going to be adding. So we'll sort of go through the whole thing. So I've got 2 versions of this file. There's the one that we'll be working with, which is on Blackboard course week 2 course content. That's this one, studio plan for construction phases. And then it's going to end up being giving us this kind of information where we'll see what we're starting with. We'll see what's being removed. We'll see what's going in, the new stuff here, and then we'll see the final plan ready for furniture placement and that kind of stuff. So my guess is in your building, we might just be dealing with 2 phases of things, the existing building and then what you're adding. This will be a little more multi-purpose. It's a good file to save. It'll be a good file to save and hang on to when you're done with this exercise as you approach other projects in the future or in your professional life. But let's get rid of this one. We're just going to start with this file, studio plan for construction phases. We're going to demolish some stuff, build some new stuff, and then decide how to present them. But this is like many projects that you'll be getting, a Revit model will already have a bunch of phases into it from previous construction projects. I know that, the studio over there there are at least 2 different phases of things, of doors being cut and walls being built and walls being demolished. So I'm just going to sort of work through these 4 pages more or less in sequence, and it's almost exactly the same sequence that's covered here in the Seidler book that I refer to up at the top of the first page. Designing or building an expansion or renovation project is a different process than designing and building a new one from scratch, because in real life, you can't just move a wall. I mean, you can do that in CAD, slide it over. In real life, you have to knock down the old one and throw it away, and then bring in the materials and build the new one. And Revit reflects that, so we know what has to happen at each stage, whether it's building things or knocking things down. And you don't just erase a wall that's there. You don't just hit the erase tool, because then it's vanished from the database. Nobody ever knows it was there. Use the demolish tool, so we know that it's been demolished, and we have to accommodate that. And in Revit, we can use a single model to show each floor in several different phases. Any object is created in one phase and then potentially demolished in another, and appears appropriately in each view, whether it's not there because it hasn't been built yet, or whether we show it there because it's been built, or whether it's being demolished as part of this process, and it shows up differently in different plans with different graphic characteristics, dashed, dotted, filled in, whatever. So we know what that whole deal is. The question comes up, especially with small models, why not just have two files, one that shows demolition and one that shows the new stuff? Or why don't you just have a copy of the model here in the drawing and a copy of it right here next to each other, and one you show what's been demolished and one you show what's coming up? And the problem is, except for the simplest project like a bathroom renovation, it's very hard to keep two different versions of something in sync. For instance, if you realize, oh, gosh, I placed that existing window right in the middle of the wall, but really it's 4 inches over from the middle of the wall, then you have to remember to change that in each of those instances where it occurs, and that rarely happens, and you get messed up. You can't keep two files perfectly in sync. Trust me, it just isn't possible. So what we're going to do is take this one model and put it through a demolition and renovation process, and then be able to present it to the demolition guy, to the carpenters, and to the client, each of them seeing things that way that be most useful to them. Let's look at a couple of things first. This project has been put together in several different phases, and if we see that, and we'll look at those for right here, manage phases, and they were called existing, phase one, which might have been when this door got put in, faculty offices when this got built, phase two might have been when all this went in, I'm not sure. So we have those 4 phases. Each object down in the bottom of properties, we can see under this wall, basic wall, phasing, we can see it was created in the existing phase, and it's never been demolished. So it's going to show up in all of our views. That was in that one. Let's pick this over here. This one, however, was created in the faculty office phase, which was later. When we look at these manage phases, this is the earliest, and then proceeds to the most recent as we go down. And this piece of casework right here was put in whatever happened in phase two, maybe outfitting that little room, I'm not sure, and it has never been demolished. So what we see here in our level 1 view is everything that exists right now. If you went in and measured it, this is more or less what we'll be getting. I added this wall just to sort of close things up. We want to take all of this. We're sort of starting fresh here. We want to take all of these and collapse them all back into the existing phase, so we don't have to be keeping track of 9 different phases in this project. This is what we're starting with, and this is what we want to know. And we could, it's tedious, pick something and go back and in phasing change it from whenever it's built to make them all be existing. But the easier way to do that is to go into manage phases, and we're just going to collapse these 3 phases into existing. So I'm just going to take phase 1, whatever these things were here in phase 1, I'll actually select it on the number and say combine it with the previous phase. So it's going to take all the objects that are assigned as phase 1 and stick them into existing. Do that with this. Do that with this. So now anything we pick will be in the existing phase. Existing phase. Existing phase, existing phase. In case you're wondering, you cannot switch the order of phases because that could lead to a building element being demolished before it was even created. Okay, now we're going to be doing new stuff, so we will go back into phases and create our own new construction phase, which will be insert a new phase after the one that's highlighted. I'll click on that and call that new construction. New construction, apply. So, apply generally makes it happen. OK applies it and takes you out of the dialog. And we could, if we wanted to, call these EXG and NEW or DEM for demolition, whatever. But I like the name. It's very clear to anybody using it later on in the drawing what's going on. Existing and new construction, I think, are as clear as this can be. So that was one little bit of cleanup. This is a one-story project. There's no need for us to have levels 2 and 3 here. We don't need them. We're only, all our walls go up to 8'6", 8'7", whatever it happens to be. We're not going to put in the floor that's up there. We're not going to deal with the third floor. So we can just get rid of these unneeded floor plans. And actually, what these are plans associated with each of the levels. We might want to leave those levels in. Actually, I think I'll get rid of them, but we don't need the floor plan views. We're going to get a whole list of them here, and having ones that we don't need just makes it more confusing. Same with ceiling plans. We're not doing a level 2 ceiling plan in this model. Delete. This is sort of clearing the decks for action, so we're not going to be distracted by stuff. And frankly, I'm going to go get rid of these levels. Level 3 and level 2. And now my walls just go from level 1 up 8 foot 6 inches high. Okay, sort of cleaning things up. We actually don't need these exterior building elevations. These guys, we're not going to be looking at this from the outside. I could delete them, or I can just collapse that view over here, just so we don't have to take up space that we don't need. Okay, now each plan view has what's called a phase filter attached to it, and a phase. Right now, we want to be showing the existing phase. If I change the phase of this view to new construction and change the phase filter to show new, we don't see anything at all. Nothing's been created yet in a new construction phase. We're taking this back to existing. I'll do show complete for right now. Existing. Is that where we started? I think so. Okay, so instead of one view, I want to set up 4 different plan views that show the project at 4 different stages. Several different stages, but represented differently. So let's pick level 1, right-click, and just rename this guy, and just call this level 1 existing. And when this pops up, do you want to rename the corresponding level and views? This would rename our level, our one that goes out here, to level 1 existing. I don't want to do that, and I don't want it to ask me to do this again. I always want to be in control of what things are named, not have them happen automatically. So I'm going to go, don't show me again, and don't do it. Here's our level 1 existing floor plan. I'm going to duplicate this view. Just plain duplicate. Detailing would be annotation like dimensions. We don't have any of those. We'll just do duplicate. And this one, I'm on step 7 in the handout. I'm going to rename this one to demolition. We're assuming that the building process is going to work like this. We start with existing stuff, and that in the real world, some carpenters are in there knocking down some walls at the same time that others are building new ones. So we're actually knocking things down and building them as part of the same new construction phase, just to keep things tight. So in the demolition view, I'm going to change the phase to new construction. We're done with what's there. Now we're sort of in the process of things. And here I want to change this to show previous, which is say show existing, plus whatever gets demolished in this new construction phase. Previous and demo. So now when we select a wall and hit demolish it, in this demolition view, we will see it, the dashed lines that typically indicate that things are being demolished. If we go back to our level 1 existing view, we can see that it's still there because it hasn't been demolished yet in the existing view. This is sort of a little time-lapse movie we're making of this project through the process of the thing. So let's go back to demolition. Now you notice when we demolished escape. When we demolished the wall, the door got demolished as well. Obviously, it comes apart. In actual fact, we might want to say in a note somewhere, remove door and reuse somewhere else. But for right now, that's a note, not a drawn thing. We can also demolish a door just all by itself. We can pick our demolish tool and just pick that door, and it indicated demolish, and presumably we'll be putting one back in here somewhere. So the act of demolishing something works from the parent object, the wall, down to the door, but not from the child object, the door up to the wall. Doing this right will save you an immense amount of time when you get into your project. So bear with me. Now we want to have a new view. We're going to duplicate the existing, either one of these. Duplicate view, duplicate. We're going to call this one previous and new. And I'll show you why. Right click, rename. Previous and new. And you can see why I did this step by step, because this is still how I do it when I need to do it. And we're going to change its filter and phase filter to new construction, previous and new. Okay, so you can see what's happened here. The wall that was being demolished is no longer showing up here, because what we're showing here is just the walls that remain from the previous stage existing, as well as our new stuff. And we haven't drawn any new stuff, but down here, since the phase of this view is new construction, any new things that we draw, that we place, will be in that phase. So if I go to wall, architecture, wall, I think they're all this one, and create a wall, then I see that. And you notice that in this view, to call attention to those, the existing stuff has been turned into thinner lines, and the new stuff is now in heavier lines. And over here where the door was removed and filled in, we have, let's turn these up to, Revit has filled the door hole in with the same material as the wall. I mean, this is really part of that wall. I don't think I can get rid of that. Delete. Yes, but I'm not going to. So Revit by itself realized if you're getting rid of the door, then you need to fill that back in again. Wall. Make a little thing, and then we'll put a door in here. And these, since I created them in a view in the new construction phase, these are in the new construction phase. It's like if you're drawing something on level 1, in the level 1 plan, it's going on to level 1. Same thing if you're drawing it in the, that's sort of the 3-dimensional location of it, level 1, and the phase is sort of the location in time. And then lastly, I want to show a view where, like for the client, where we are not making this distinction between existing and new. They just want to see what they end up with and not be distracted by that. We'll make one more view. I'm going to call it level 1 complete, meaning when we're all done, what does this look like? Duplicate view, duplicate, rename. Level 1 complete. Okay. Oh, I beg your pardon. Thank you. Complete. Show complete. Thank you, Faith. A for the day. So what that will do is merge those where previously there's been sort of a T intersection to indicate that the phase was different. And this is what you present to the client so they don't have to jostle around with different colored walls. One thing I would like to change here is in the previous and new, I would like to pop these new walls out even more. I would like to maybe give them a halftone shading pattern so it will just jump off the page where the new walls are. Everybody can start doing their quick calculations. So here, here, and over here. And to do that, we go into under Manage Phases. We're looking at these. We see our phases. We got new construction. When we're showing previous and new, what we have here is a view whose phase filter is previous and new. And what I want to do here is in the phase filters, when I'm showing something in previous new filter and it's new, I don't want to accept the default, which is what Revit has provided here, which is slightly stronger. I want to override that with our own graphic decision. And over here in graphic overrides, I'm going to say what that is. And so the new things, since we're overriding new, I'm going to override new to, well, if we say like that, it'll be solid. That's what Revit has picked for that. That's sort of the default override. That strikes me as far heavier than we need to have. So I'm going to go back to manage phases, graphic overrides, pick that this guy, and instead of solid fill, change it to, wait, it is solid fill. I just got to change the color, sorry, and change the color to light gray. So not quite as strong. And these lines look awfully heavy to me, so I want to make them thinner too. Since we're already doing the gray, we don't need them to be quite as fat. So I'll go back to phases, go back to graphic overrides. See here when new things are cut, which is what we're doing when we're drawing a plan. We're sort of cutting those walls at 4 feet high. I'm going to pick the thickness of the lines, click on it, and take them from a weight of 5, which is pretty heavy. These are humongous. Let's say to take it to 2. Okay, apply. Okay. So I think that looks a little more crisp. You can see it, but it doesn't just slam out at you. One last thing I need to mention to you all here before I stop is when we go to graphic overrides, for big construction projects, it's really helpful to be able to see objects not with their carpet or their actual paint color, but to see all the existing stuff in gray, all the demolition stuff in red, all the new construction in blue, temporary in green or something. And that's what these materials will do. These exist already in the materials editor. Well, I'll show you what those are. Let's go to manage materials for a second. Default, yeah, phase demo. So, we would go in and we would define these to be gray, blue, demolition being red, whatever we want to do with those. And that would apply to all of them. We go into render view or a shaded view, and you'd get those. That's rarely something that we want to do in interior design. So if we go to graphic overrides, we can just erase these. And then at that point, the actual material of the thing, the carpet or the gypboard or whatever we will have done will be what's there. It won't be overridden by a, see, this is the graphic overrides chart, if you like, and we are not going to be overriding any of our materials with the ones that are tied into phasing. Now, if you guys are doing, how many floors is the 1405 building? Let's say 6. Now we've got like 24 different floor plans, and how to keep them sorted and gets a little crazy. So what we can do is group all the level 1s together so they will accordion out or close up. Level 2 will do that. And here's how you do this. Select one of the views. And this is just going to be edit type. We're going to create a type of view called a first floor view. We're going to duplicate. What do you always do with type? You always do edit type and duplicate. And we're going to create a type of floor plan called first floor plans. Okay, that's all. And now what's happened, what that does is add to our project browser a section where we're going to call this for first floor plans. And level 1 complete is there because that's the one that we changed the type of. I can change select, control select, pick all these guys and change their type. First floor plans. And then they appear up there. So if you're working on the second floor, you don't have to even see the whole first floor ones. You just expand the list for the second and have the 4th, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th just turned off. And you can do that for ceiling plans, and any of those you can make a type within those. And remember from last semester, if these are blank here, that means that they're not yet on a sheet. If it's blue, it is on a sheet. So let's put these on a sheet. Sheets, right-click, new sheet. It's the only one here. It's big enough. Fine. And I guess I want to see these sort of in the order of existing, demo, previous and new, complete. Existing. We've got the demolition. Previous and new. Complete. They're all at 1/8 inch. Are yours coming in different? And there's a question from the floor about why was the existing one larger than the others? Oh, you know why? It's because each of those, the default box is just the size of the view, which the board is not turned on. So this one reached out to grab everything in that view. So we can just click it. We don't need those. Oh, actually, let's do, I clicked on it. I'll do crop view, crop region visible. And I could have done this back in the view as well. Or we could have just turned those off, frankly. Turn that category off in that view. That's the easiest thing. Select it, hide in view category. So I like seeing them all here because now as we work on it, we can start to see when we're using it how this is going to work. So let's do a couple of things. Let's zoom in here, see these two middle views. And I just want to demolish, not erase, but demolish this little office. So I'm just going to double click inside this view to make it active. Select them, demolish. Oh, I guess I have to do that all by itself. Yeah, demolishing we already demolished the door. Escape. So what you see is demolishing them in the new construction phase, sort of at the beginning of the new construction phase, if you like, removes them from the subsequent views. Let's build some little offices down the wall here. Just going to drag that down. Copy. So you can see this is building, and then I'll do another couple of doors. A question from the floor about extending the vertical wall. I picked it and dragged its control point. All of these have some control point to drag them or move them. And then this wall was a control drag, which is a copy drag, copy and move. DR for door. So here these are showing up emphasized new. Here they are just, like existing walls. Now, one of the reasons that I think it's going to be pretty fast to do the 1405 building is it looks to me as though the first floor, I'm pretty sure it's concrete columns and concrete slab floors. I'm not sure of that yet. But once we have a floor drawn, we can just copy it up to the next ones. We don't have to redraft it. We don't have to create new grid lines. The grid lines already go through. And so let's see what might be involved there. So let's start with existing. Well, first of all, let's get it in 3D. And remember, I got rid of my other layers, levels. I do want to create a new level here. And I'm going to put that at let's say 9 feet 6. Let's get an elevation view. And I'm going to create a new level up at 9 foot 6. I'm just going to do control drag. Let's do another one up at 19 feet. And if we want our second floor to be identical to our first floor, which is sort of what the case is going to be in the 1405 building for the structure and stairs anyhow. Oh, and let me describe that building. I think I mentioned it before, but let's understand. I think what will, and I'm going to call it the structural model, which will be exterior walls that go from the ground all the way up to the top as one continuous wall, floor slabs, columns, roof, and then stairwell and elevator shafts and structures. So really, in a building like that, this wall would be, let's just say 30 feet tall. The exterior walls go all the way up to the top. Now to create our second floor, and I don't actually have floors in here, but our second level, I'm going to select all this, use Revit's copy to clipboard. So our whole first floor, including the windows and all the interior partitions, has been copied. And then we can just say paste to the second levels. And I'll say level 2. Can I do shift and then shift for level 3? And there's that. So by the time you've done level 1, you've practically done all the rest. In fact, in your building, the 1405 building, it seems like the columns, they're round columns, and they get smaller as they go up the building, as they have to carry less and less weight. So we would probably have to come back into our second and third floor plans. Okay, now how do I get to my level 2 floor plan, which, if you remember, I deleted earlier today. A brief recap of that copying process. I did it in the 3D view. You can, and then just windowed them like that. Not picking the outside wall. And one of the reasons I did that is in any of the plan views, it's only in a 3D view that I can see the floor and the ceiling and the lights and everything at the same time. Otherwise, I have to copy a ceiling plan and mess around. So there's that. I select it all. I use the copy to clipboard, and then paste to selected levels. Level 2. I'll just say level 2 right now. And when you get this little warning, it means some wall that I drew is like kicked over a degree or something or other, for whatever reason. Really not a concern. Now, I would like to go, let's say, erase all those walls on the second floor, but I don't have a second floor plan. Okay, so right now, all I have is first floor plans. I don't have a second floor plan. Okay, so I want to create a plan view. That's in View, Plan Views, Floor Plan View. I want to create one for level 4 for here. Bink. And that creates the view over. The level was already made, the geometry was already made, but we didn't have a plan view set up to see that. So these are different walls than the one we were looking at before. And let's imagine that as we started this project, there was nothing here. It was just an empty space with one door. Yeah, I just want to leave this just to get a sense of what's going on. And maybe the columns have to get smaller. They probably would. They get smaller as they go up. But now we have completely separate. Let me close these. Level 2, level 1, let's say level 1 existing. And I want to see them both at the same time. That's with View, Tile Views, ZE for Zoom Extents, ZE for Zoom Extents. So there's our first floor existing and our second floor existing, ready for completely independent work going on. The only time we really need to see these together, any stairwell or something that we start here needs to be coming up through here as well. So we'll start thinking about how we get walls that are continuous from one floor to the next, to the next, to the next. Whereas these, they're just partitions going from floor slab to floor slab. Being able to copy one whole floor plan from one floor to the next, to the next, to the next, it means it's worth spending time on your first floor plans for 1405. Get them right, get your column grids right, get the columns located on the intersection of the column grids, and then they just go on straight on up. Have you guys even seen that building yet? Well, let's do this.
After 4 decades of sitting vacant and 10 years of planning, this site is about to undergo a major transformation. And if all goes according to plan, construction could begin this summer. Time has taken its toll on 1405 West Broadway.
And it's such a long time that people have somewhat become numb to this asset.
The building has sat empty longer than it was in operation, even catching fire in 2019. Many who drive by in the present are likely unaware of its past.
This building has a unique history. When it was first created, it was a candy factory. It was one of the largest candy factories in this region.
Andrew Hawes is president of the Housing Partnership Incorporated, one of several organizations now working to secure the building's future. The plan is to transform the warehouse into 116 senior housing units.
We will be naming this project the Gateway Senior Apartments because we do believe that this is at one of the gateway entryways into West Louisville.
The company also plans to move its headquarters into the first floor, along with a community resource center and a full-service branch for First National Bank. The project started with a price tag of $34 million, but as momentum slowed, the price tag jumped to $43 million.
We essentially lost a year because the market changed, construction costs went up, labor shortages, etc.
But the project is now back on track, with environmental cleanup expected to begin this spring. Hawes aims to close on the final financing of the project in May or June and begin construction in July, hopefully beginning a new chapter, not just for the building, but for the entire neighborhood.
We feel that bringing it back to life and putting it to productive use, it will show a visible signal to the community of healing. And it will continue on with the other investments that have been made on Broadway.
Drew Gardner, WLKY News.
Drew, thank you. If all goes according to plan, they hope the project will be complete sometime next summer.
There's some work. There's some work to be done. If and when you do tour the place, I would advise wearing your sturdiest shoes when you go to visit there, as well as a hard hat, boots if you got them. Oh, asbestos, great. And a mask. And a hazmat something. Okay, so I'm gonna kill this right now. How do I get out of here? Facebook, that's right. So the less measuring we have to do on site, the better, I think. Well, here's the cool thing. We have the AutoCAD plans. We have the AutoCAD plans, highly detailed. We can just trace them in Revit. We've already done that. So all we really need at this point is building sections so we can get the floor-to-floor heights and a sense of how thick the floors are and what they're made out of. One of the nice things about interior design is you rarely have to go into crapped out old buildings. Somebody else will have done that and given you a CAD drawing. Yay, I know. Can if you want to, but I've done enough of that. I think what you guys will not need, you probably won't need actually a demolition plan. My guess is what you'll be starting with is just exterior walls and concrete columns. There's no point you putting in any crappy stuff that happens to be there. But we'll sort of have to play that. My guess is you will probably really just need existing and complete. You might not even need the demo part. I hope I recorded that.